I'd like to take a few minutes and review the Monsanto case with everyone. First of all, your submissions were very good. Here's what I was looking for in the Monsanto case. In the summary, there's really three parts. Number one, a brief history of the company and what it's been like throughout its history and how it's changed. Number two, what are some of the ethical problems and issues that it's faced throughout its company's histories. And number three, what are the social responsibility programs that it's initiated to either try and heal its past image or to really show that it's dramatically different as a company today. I want to share some responses from the student group with you so that you can get some flavor for how both the summary and the responses to the different questions were handled by some of you. I'd like to take Amanda's summary and share this with you because I think it was very well done, well written. Monsanto was a company that was founded in 1901 by John F. Queeny in St. Louis, Missouri. The company got its start by selling artificial sweeteners, caffeine extract, and artificial vanilla flavoring. During the early part of World War I, the company realized that it had huge potential for growth in the industrial chemicals industry. As it began to produce plastics, agricultural chemicals, and synthetic rubbers, it ended up changing the company name to the Monsanto Chemical Company. In the 1970s, Monsanto faced its first legal obstacle after one of its chemicals found in a product called Agent Orange was found to be extremely carcinogenic and had caused severe problems for veterans of the Vietnam War. The product was used by soldiers to quickly deforest thick Vietnamese jungles. Monsanto settled a lawsuit with many veterans for $180 million, and the effect of those lawsuits lasted for several decades. Afterwards, in 1981, Monsanto leaders decided that biotechnology would be the company's new strategic focus, and was soon selling soybeans, cotton, and canola seeds and other genetically modified seeds. Monsanto eventually separated their biotechnology business from their chemical business and created two separate legal entities in 1997. The creation of the new business was the beginning of long ethical battles that Monsanto had to face. It was revealed that the company had been covering up decades of environmental pollution in a small town in Alabama. Additionally, they were disposing of highly toxic chemicals in open pit landfills. They again had to settle in court for a very large amount of money for the claims against them. Other serious ethical issues faced by Monsanto were bribery scams and patent concerns. When the new CEO took over in 2003, he knew he had a lot of work ahead of him to pull Monsanto away from the company's tarnished reputation. The stock had fallen and they had lost $1.7 billion the previous year. The company emphasized biotechnology and genetically modified seeds. They produced seeds that were resistant to drought, bugs, and pesticides. After a few acquisitions and the new strategic focus, Monsanto became a global leader in the seed industry. Monsanto seeds and the value that they've provided to raising crop yields and farmers' revenues have not come without criticism. There are many critics out there who are concerned with the long-term effects of genetically modified food to humans and to animals that consume it. There are also major environmental concerns regarding their pesticides, making superbugs or superweeds, and the possibility that Monsanto's genetically modified seeds can contaminate other non-genetically modified crops. Monsanto continues to try and improve its reputation by creating sustainable agriculture in drought-stricken countries, and places where population is expected to boom in coming years. The company also believes highly in charitable giving. They created the Monsanto Fund and has contributed millions of dollars to charitable organizations and to natural disaster-stricken areas. While they have and continue to face many challenges, they are also working very hard toward ensuring the world's population will be fed and trying to portray itself as a socially responsible company dedicated to improving agriculture. So here in Amanda's summary, we see a brief history, an outline of some of the issues that it's faced throughout its ethical issues, and number three, its social responsibility programs that it's put in place. When we move to the three questions from the case, I'm going to share with you Yang He's response to question number 1. Question number 1 was, does Monsanto maintain an ethical culture that can effectively respond to various stakeholders? Even though they try to show an ethical culture through charitable giving and claim their products are improving conditions in places like Africa, Haiti, and India by increasing crop yields, the Monsanto's company efforts do not seem to persuade many of their stakeholders like farmers, environmental groups, government regulators, and citizens who are concerned about the safety of GM food products. If Monsanto's past is any indication of their future, they will continue to have trouble maintaining an ethical culture because they are not very responsive to their stakeholder concerns. From their sale of Agent Orange in the 1970s, which turned out to be toxic to people, to the hazardous chemical waste they released around Anniston, Alabama for nearly 40 years, Monsanto has consistently shown a disregard for human and environmental safety. As recently as 2002, Monsanto employees have been found guilty of bribing foreign officials in Indonesia to avoid conducting environmental impact studies on their products. Currently, Monsanto seed police employees have gained a negative reputation among farmers who call them the mafia because they ruthlessly protect company patent rights. An even bigger controversy surrounds GM foods, whether they are safe for human consumption and the environment. With so many ethical issues in Monsanto's past and present, their money spent on charitable giving does not erase the fact that they have repeatedly failed to respond to environmental groups' concerns, failed to inform the general public about GM's food, possible health risks, and often treated customers harshly. The interesting aspect to this question, and Jan He has done a very good job of stating the position that Jan He wants to take, and then supports it with details from the case. You could take the exact opposite position and say Monsanto is now an ethical company and use other details from the case to support your position. The most important aspect in responding to this question was, what's your position and how are you supporting it with details from the case itself? Question number 2 related to comparing the benefits and the consequences of using GM seeds. Jacqueline had an interesting response to this question. What she did was she created a chart. And on one side she put the benefits, on the other side she put the consequences. She stated 6 benefits and she had 6 consequences. The last consequence I think was really interesting because it was one that she came up with herself. And what she said here, not mentioned in the text, but if we start changing the genetic makeup of plants, what's next? Animals? Humans? So it was an interesting perspective and an interesting way to respond to that question. Moving to question number 3, I'm going to come back to Jan He's answer here again. How should Monsanto manage the potential harm to plant and animal life from using products such as Roundup? In order for the Monsanto company to manage the potential harm their products pose to plants, animals, and even people, they must focus on doing business in an ethical manner. There are many ways they can accomplish this goal, but I suggest 3 initial steps. First, Monsanto should devote more resources to studying the potential negative side effects of their GM seeds and accompanying chemical products like Roundup. Even though this would be an expensive step that would hurt profits, it would demonstrate their company's level of corporate responsibility in a meaningful way. Second, Monsanto should increase their efforts to educate farmers about environmentally safe and sustainable ways to use their products. Taken seriously, this effort could help minimize any impact GM crops have on local ecosystems. The third and final action would be for Monsanto to engage stakeholders in a meaningful manner that creates a lasting dialogue. This applies to specifically stakeholders like environmental groups, farmers, and government regulators who Monsanto has tended to maintain a competitive relationship with in the past. What I liked about this response was Jan He decided, all right, these are 3 things that I think they can do, and then following those statements were supporting words of what would be involved with each of these steps. So I think the Monsanto case was a really interesting case because it's a very topical subject that we're all dealing with today. This week the case is going to be on Countrywide Financial. And this is going to relate to the mortgage meltdown that we had in 2007. And we've all seen the consequences since that time for our stumbling and failing economy. So I look forward to reading your responses this coming week about Countrywide. Talk to you real soon.